Got it. All right. All right, and Jennifer has posted the agenda in the chat if anybody wants to look at that. Welcome everybody to our first general meeting of the year. If you don't know already, I'm Christopher Brandon. I'm this year's president for koha-US. And just some quick introductions. Bob has taken on the role of vice president for this year. And we also have Jennifer, our secretary, and Georgette, which is filling a long vacant role as treasurer. So thank you, Georgette, for doing that. And then Michael, who is not here, is our member at large supported. And I don't see, looks like we don't have John here yet, who is our financial manager, and Lauren, who is our member at large unsupported. So we have a few people out at the moment, but welcome everyone. And if well, I've introduced people, but go ahead and introduce yourself if you haven't been mentioned, or if you have been mentioned and you just want to say hi, please introduce yourself real quick.
Red King, medical library in a very teeny tiny koha library.
I'm Greg Gantz. I work with George at NEKLS, and I'm just kind of picking up stuff. He is back up, and I do IT stuff here, but I'm not helping out with koha. So.
Hi, I'm Emily Lamancusa from Montgomery County Public Libraries. I'm new to koha as of October, but I've been in the past couple meetings lurking.
Welcome.
Welcome to my fellow Montgomery County resident. At least I think you're a resident.
I'm George Williams. Don't know what was said about me before the meeting started, so.
You're on a committee.
Yeah. Super. I won't show up.
I'm Barbara Johnson at Bedford Public Library, last year's koha-US president, and very glad to pass the torch on to Christopher and the rest of the board this year.
Hi, I'm Nick Weingard. I'm a high school, middle school librarian in South Denver, and I actually am one of the librarians that Bob supports, so good connection.
Awesome.
I'm Jason. I've been called ubiquitous by Bob before, so you probably know me. But I work at the Southeast Kansas Library System in Southeast Kansas.
Sorry, we got here late, some of the Bywater folks. So if we're introducing ourselves, hi, my name is Jessie Z. I'm the Director of Library Sales and Outreach at Bywater Solutions. I love koha, and we're here to help however we can.
Hi, my name is Kelly McGillicott, and I also work at Bywater Solutions, and I also love koha.
I'm Nate Carul. I'm one of the owners of Bywater, and I also love koha.
All right. And by the way, I did introduce myself as the president of koha-US, but I'm also, when I'm not playing president, I am the IT coordinator for the Coeur d'Alene Public Library in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and also on the support team for our consortium, which is CIN, the Cooperative Information Network, which Georgette is a part of.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm at Liberty Lake. I'm sorry, I have to wear the mask. We have COVID in the house, so I have to wear my mask while my employees are in the building. So, but yes, I'm at Liberty Lake and I'm in a consortium with Christopher.
Liberty Lake, California,
Liberty Lake,
Iowa?
Washington,
Oh, okay.
Washington. We're right on the border, kind of, we're about 4 miles from Post Falls, Idaho.
I
And
know
just
where,
had
I know
Go
where
ahead.
it is. I just thought maybe some other people might not know.
yeah, yeah.
We're not that big of a consortium.
No,
All right, anybody else? All right. So we're going to go ahead and jump into our agenda. Any announcements? Anything spectacular going on in your lives? We're getting ready for an upgrade next week. Yay.
yay. I'm kind of anxious for the upgrade. The staff part looks really nice. So I'm looking forward to that.
All right. Well, there are no other announcements. First on the agenda was referring to a bylaw amendment regarding ties during officer elections. So we had a discussion at last week's board meeting that we need to add something to the bylaws to kind of outline what our procedure is if we have ties during an election. We've never run into a tie really. Except well, let's see here. Yeah, we haven't run into a tie really, but we need to have this in the bylaws just in case. You know, we've been picking up speed with elections, and we've had more people involved in elections, particularly nominations, and it's always a good idea to plan ahead for these things rather than try and invent these things during an election. So I will be putting out, I will be writing up, I haven't done it yet, but I'll be writing up an amendment proposal for the bylaws stating what we plan to do. And basically, just to, you know, ballpark it here, the idea is that if there is a tie with the member vote for an officer election, the officers, the current officers will vote. We have an odd number of officers, so we shouldn't have a tie, but in the event that we only have an even number or only an even number voting, the president will opt out of voting to make that so that it is uneven and we don't end up with a tie ourselves. So that is the gist of that amendment proposal, and I'll get that out to the board sometime and get them to look at the wording on that, make sure everything looks right, and then we will be setting up a vote. We'll send that out to members ahead of time for a vote, and then get a vote on that amendment. Any questions about that? All right. Next on the new business is the 2023 budget. This is normally led by John. He is not here at the moment. So, and Georgette, I don't think he has prompted you to do any of that yet.
Not yet, no.
Okay.
He we had a meeting yesterday, just kind of going through what, you know, what I will do and what he will do. So I haven't, we didn't talk budget.
Okay. Well, if he pops in here, we'll jump back up to this item. Otherwise, for now, we will move on. Committee updates, conference, and we need to update the chair on this, Jennifer, because I am now the chair of the conference committee. Conference committee is going to meet after this meeting, but I haven't looked at I forgot to look this morning. I haven't looked to see if we have any proposals for locations submitted yet. So that is something that we're going to look at afterwards. But as of last week, when I sent out an update, we did not have any proposals for a location. I do have some ideas that I'm going to float by the committee in the next hour or so. Stay tuned. We will find a location for our conference for this year. But that's where we're at this moment. We're trying to nail down a location so we can move forward. Oh, thank you for updating that. The development committee, Bob.
Yeah, well, I am now running the development committee because of some scheduling conflicts I had. Typically, the meeting would have been tomorrow, but we've moved it to next week. So it will be the third Thursday every month at 9 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Mountain, and so on. So if you want to bring ideas for development to that, would be a great place to do it. I have not run that meeting yet, nor attended one. So we'll all have fun next week learning together.
And just as just so everybody's aware, we are, and because I was the previous chair on that, I'll just add that we are trying to finish up our previous development, which Bywater, we're supposed to get some information from Bywater about. They had some input on that development, and so we're waiting on that, and then we're going to weigh our options as to which direction to go with that development to try and get that finished up, hopefully this year. But we are also, the team has vetted the proposals that have been submitted. They've gone through and looked through those. So now it's the team's prerogative to get those vetted proposals together and submit them to the members for voting for this next development that koha-US will be working on. So that's where the development team stood when I handed over the reins. So, all right, Education Committee.
We didn't meet in December, so there's nothing to report from the December meeting. We meet the third Wednesday of the month at the same time as this meeting. So I just put the next meeting will be the 18th of January, and there's the time, and I'll send out an agenda for that by Friday.
All right. Finance. Georgette is still getting familiarized with her position. Do you have anything that you want to share, Georgette, about your progress?
You know, I don't. I had a meeting yesterday with John. I now have the email. I have access to that. And so we're just, you know, we're meeting every week to get me up and going and kind of up to speed on what needs to be done.
All right. And then, of course, fundraising, the chair is vacant. We're not doing any active fundraising at this time. Although I will point out, koha-US, we're always open for new members to join. Your membership goes towards developments. So we encourage people to join koha-US. Also, you can donate at any time. There is a donate link on our website. You can also, we have some merchandise that covers some basic koha-US logos, and also past conferences. If you're interested in purchasing any of those, anything that you do there contributes towards our funding as well. And also you can contribute to koha-US through Amazon Smile. So all that information is available on our website. Please check that out. But that's the extent of our fundraising right now.
Christopher, can I
Yes.
ask a question,
Go for it.
please? Okay, so we're trying to do a big push at Bywater to send out messages to all of our partners, our Koha partners, about membership in koha-US, and trying to get everybody signed up. And I noticed that there's no like group or library organization membership. Has there ever been talk about maybe having that option, so like a library can like sign their entire group up rather than having to do individuals?
There's been talk in the past, and there's some logistic issues with us, at least in the discussions that I've heard in the past. There have been issues with trying to implement that. I can't remember what those issues are exactly. John knows the bulk of that. George, do you have anything?
I was gonna say maybe it'd be time for the board to revisit that.
Yeah,
That
John
was
and
the-
I discussed that yesterday.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
good.
playing with the idea of paying for a first year subscription to koha-US for all new Koha customers. But not having a library subscription level kind of makes that difficult.
Yeah.
So, getting rid of that roadblock would allow us to get people into the koha-US community for at least a year. Then they can come, they can see what happens, get them involved, and then maybe they'll renew on their own. So that's kind of like the thought process that I've had the last few days. Like, let's get everybody in. We'll cover the first year as part of your implementation. And then from there, it's incumbent upon koha-US and the library to figure out about renewals, but at least this gets them in the door and they see what we do and they're, more involved.
Right.
But we need that library level so that we could say, even, if it's more money, I mean, that's fine. Like it's $50 or $75 for a whole library, whatever it is, we get them in the door and then boom.
I think one of, I don't know what John's logistic challenges are behind all of that. One of the thoughts about the library level is, what does that look like compared to a membership level, particularly with membership benefits? Does a library level membership mean only one person votes for the entire library, as opposed to each member that's involved gets a vote? So if you have 10 people at your library that have become members, they get 10 votes. So the question is, what does that do to their membership versus a regular single membership? So that's one of the things that I think that we have to figure out on the board is, where's that going to go?
Like a library level gets 3 votes or whatever.
Yeah.
Because you're paying 3 times the amount of a normal subscription.
Right.
Or something like that. Right.
Yeah.
And if you want more votes, then have your individuals go on an individual basis within the library,
Right.
We could also just scale it with, like, you can buy a library membership at up to 5 individual, and just like offer a discount. I think there's a lot of different ways we can structure it that will
That's
get
good.
through whatever logistic issues we have. So it's
Yeah.
definitely something I think we can work on and figure something out.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And can you purchase a membership for someone else currently?
I
mean-
don't see any reason why you couldn't.
Okay, because it's not tied to your specific email or anything like that. You can fill all that
No,
in. I don't
no,
remember.
because you can specify the person and their email address.
Cool. So maybe we'll just start with the main point of contact at the library and boom, that's the registration. And we would be telling the library this. We're like trying to we're paying for it. So we're not going to add the cost to we're not doing that. But it'll all be upfront and honest. But yeah, cool. That's something that we're seriously considering doing. I think that would be a nice jolt to everything. So
That's awesome. We appreciate
I mean, a
that.
lot of it is just awareness, you
Yeah.
know? And if you're like, hey, I need you to be aware of this, and it costs us $25 or $50 to do that, cool. You know, we're willing to do that, no problem.
Great. And Jennifer, if you could make note of that for the agenda for the next board meeting, we'll definitely have that discussion.
No problem.
Anything else? Okay. All right. So I had this discussion with the board last week, and I wanted to just run this by everybody here at the general meeting. As koha-US has grown as an organization, we've taken on more of an organization functioning, but the general, it used to be just a general meeting. There was a general meeting, then the board was there, and we had a board meeting, and a lot of stuff from the board bled over into the general meeting. Initially, when koha-US started, we had a lot more general discussion within the general meetings. And I want to, it's my desire to get us back to a general meeting that meets the needs of our members, and not so much organization stuff going on within the general meeting. We want to do, just like we just did general announcements, but here we are, we're, almost 25 minutes into the meeting, and we haven't had a general discussion. And so my goal for this year is to keep these general meetings as much as we can open to general discussion, and as little as possible the organization stuff. And so what that means is, if you are interested in any of the organization stuff, the business stuff that that shapes koha-US and all the background stuff, I encourage you to sit in on our board meetings. Our board meetings are open. We post the links. You're welcome to sit in and listen and comment, but I want to keep that business stuff at the board meeting. I want to devote this time to you guys, because without our members, koha-US is nothing, and we're wanting to invest in our members, and this is that time. Aside from now we have special interest groups, or SIGs, that we have for our members, and that's great. But this general meeting the purpose of it was for you, the members, and so we need to get back to that. So I want to shift that back towards that. So once in a while, we'll have our brief committee updates, and we will have some announcement, or we will also have our financial stuff talked about. But I don't want to spend a lot of time on the financials, so I'm going to have Georgette and John keep that stuff to a minimum. I don't want to consume a lot of time at this meeting for that. So that's my goal, and I'm hoping that we can generate more discussion with you, the members, in this meeting, more than just reporting and business. So with that said, we are through the primary business of our agenda. I want to encourage the members, if you have things that you want to talk about, if there are things that you are up against, you're dealing with workflows, upgrades, whatever, you have questions about products, anything that you're dealing with that ties into koha, even if it doesn't tie into koha, that's fine. But whatever you're dealing with, working on, whatever is on the minds of our members, that's what we want to talk about here. And I've tasked the board members, if people don't come with topics, we should have some stuff that we're ready to throw out there, that we can talk about. I know that Bywater's finishing up their upgrades this month, and we have yet to do our upgrades, so our upgrades next week. So I'm looking forward to that. I would like to hear back from any of you that have done upgrades. How has that been going? Have you run into anything with your upgrades? So floor is open. I saw a thumbs up from Heather. Did you get upgraded?
Yes, and there's so much that's wonderful. We've barely dipped our toe in. And so far so good. Although I am going to mention a bug in Bugzilla that influences the linking entry field linking, and everything would be going so much more smoothly with our Koha, and I think with everybody's Koha catalog, especially with more RDA cataloged records coming in that use these linking entry fields more often, that I'd really love to encourage everyone to look at this bug, even if it seems Byzantine. Come to the cataloging special interest group and ask questions, or ask questions about it here. These are 7.6x through 7.8x fields. And so
not being a cataloger, can you kind of generalize what this means?
So in general, when people go to, for example, worldcat.org and they look for Harry Potter, they'll get see all editions in one record. And this is the Ferberizing effect. And I think it's accomplished behind the scenes in yet kind of a strange way often through these linking entry fields that say, for example, the Spanish edition is a translation of the English edition, or this film is an adaptation of this book. And these fields are also used for serial title changes when people are looking for periodicals. And so these fields, although a bit obscure, are being used more and more often. And this is the sort of technical behind the scenes bug that I think a lot of people aren't aware of. But once this functionality can be added to Koha, it could be of use to public libraries, say, that would love record clusters of the different editions of books, the different, Moby Dick, the film, the book, the stage play, the audiobook, as well as academic and special libraries that, for example, have records for different articles in periodicals that then need to link to the periodical to actually find on the shelf where that article is. So it's something that comes up every time we're upgraded, because we have custom XSLT for this functionality. And it comes up in a lot of bugs on Bugzilla, because I think a lot of people aren't aware that the functionality is embedded in these clusters of MARC fields that then need to search for record numbers, that sort of thing. So throwing it out, taking this chance to throw that out there.
Awesome. I definitely, not being a cataloger, I can appreciate the work that goes into tying records together. I mean, that's quite the undertaking, and how things can be linked, how they can be linked through commonalities. It's beyond complex to me, and I appreciate every time I can go to a record and find the information that I need, or when I'm searching for something for a patron, and they're asking about something in a series, if I can just go to the record and of one of the items and find out more about that or other editions, that would be awesome. Instead of having to dig and hunt, and sometimes I have to look outside of Koha because we don't have the information or that linkage in our our records. So, yeah, that would be great to have that addition. So this is a feature yet to come, if I'm understanding correct.
Yeah, there are pieces of it that sometimes work, but if this were actually implemented, and in my dream, you'd have a system preference that says, for example, yes, when you click the linking entry field link, I want you in my catalog to search on the we use OCLC numbers in an 001 field, or no, we're a consortium that does not use OCLC numbers, and please use an 035 field. And you just pick your choices, and it would just work beautifully. And then you could have things like, say, one record for the Aubrey Maturin series, and you simply go, oh yeah, I want volume 3, click, boom. Or one record for all the Lord of the Rings. And it's like, yeah, I want the films. Oh yeah, and I want that Rankin Bass Hobbit. Or it's so that all the users and the reference staff could simply click through.
So I'm curious about something. Thanks, Fred.
Yes, Fred, yes.
I'm curious about something. So I know that when we joined Koha back in, was it 2012? Man, it's been that long already.
Yes, it was 2012.
Yes, 2012.
When we joined Koha, okay, we came from a system understanding cataloging in a certain way, and we understood what we could do with the system at that time. And then we were trained on Koha, and I believe our catalogers had some specific training, but a lot has changed since then. And I'm wondering, do we have any kind of resources or videos that do any kind of in-depth training on aspects of cataloging? I know we have our cataloging SIG, but maybe we have catalogers that have been doing things the same way since 2012, and they hear about this new feature or whatever, but they don't really get into it because there hasn't been any kind of formal training, or you know what I mean. I'm wondering if we have any kind of resources out there that we should be pointing our catalogers at, or consortiums at, and say, hey, let's do some required training. I want you to review these materials and then have a discussion about these things, rather than it just being something that passes by in an email or whatever.
That might be something the cataloging SIG could take on, just a list of neat things that are specific to Koha that save a lot of time that you may not have known about. I mean, we switched from Cersei Dynex, and I've said many times before, sorry, I didn't know what I was doing, so now I'm figuring it out. Which is why redoing the author's catalog is proving so interesting.
Yeah, I think that those are some great ideas, and I would very much encourage people to funnel those questions, those tips, those tricks to the cataloging SIG, to me, because an example of what came out of that is the sample MARC records on the Koha community wiki. So I think that this is something that would not just benefit koha-US, but koha-US and all of us could be a springboard to benefiting the entire world of cataloging and increasing the global pool of cataloging records.
I would love it if some folks, or if the entire SIG team would collaborate and work on some things. That would be awesome. I would love to see, okay, here's basic cataloging 101 for Koha, but I would like to see more beyond that, that's specific to Koha's strengths and what it can do for the records, and things that people may not do coming from another system or be aware of. You know, I would love it if you guys could collaborate and put together some videos for that. Sounds like an idea.
A lot of what I've come up with in the last few months has something that maybe said, "Oh, neat." A lot of that comes from MARC Edit.
Awesome.
And I didn't have much, or I didn't have any cataloging experience with Circuit Dynex, except to correct 1 or 2 records. So
Kind of jumped in with both feet.
yeah, I know.
There is a video that I did with Bywater that's out there, and I'm sorry, I'm very slow this morning, so I don't have the link right away, but it is a basic introduction to MARC records. So I'll check and make sure that there's a link to that somewhere on the Koha Community Wiki, because I don't think that link has made it over to the Koha Community Wiki.
Kelly just posted a link to the training resources on the community wiki, and that link for that video is not there. You're correct, but it's in the chat over there.
Awesome. You know, I'm thinking too, you know, a lot of libraries that are involved, you know, well, that are doing cataloging, you know, they have paid staff. They may have a staff member that is trained in MARC records or cataloging. They might have some formal training, you know, and you know, becoming familiar with Koha is a task all on its own. But there, you know, there may be libraries out there, and I'm talking, it could be rural US, it could be outside of the US. But there are libraries out there that may just be, you know, trying to do something within their community and building a library on their own, and they take on Koha, and there is no formal training whatsoever. So, you know, if there's any kind of resources that we can provide or point people to, or make sure that, you know, we don't have any holes in certain areas for these libraries, these people that are trying to build a library from nothing. With Koha, if we can fill in those holes, that would be awesome. You know, give them all the tools that they need to understand and move forward. You know, and maybe eventually, you know, they're going to need to become something more formal, more traditional, and hire people that actually are educated in certain areas. But you know, whatever we can do to provide them with the tools and skills that they need to just launch would be awesome.
Yeah, that fits in really well with my hobby horse. You know, for small libraries that have no budget and maybe one full-time person, or maybe not.
All right. Anyone else? I mean, we started off on the topic of upgrades, but anybody have anything to say about upgrading or upgrades, recent upgrades, or anything else?
We had a minor catastrophe in the office.
I was wondering where you went.
But yeah, half the office doesn't have power, including the part that powers our internet. It's weird. They cut something outside. But I had 2 bugs that I was going to share, upgrade related. The first one was about RSS feeds. They're just completely dead in the OPAC. And I don't have the bug numbers now because I don't have access. But I'll try and share that out later. That one is fixed in the current point upgrade, 0.08. So that one should be fine. The other one that we're running into a lot, because we do patron photos, is there's a bug where if you're not uploading the patron photo from the more details page of the account, then you get an error. So like if you try to do it from the checkout page, it gives you like a token error or something. And there's a bug out there on that too. That Nick suggested what the problem is, but there hasn't been any fix written yet.
This is the feature where you can actually add the patron photo from the webcam.
Yeah, it affects both ways. But so like if you're using the webcam or if you just upload a photo, it's using the same like modal now. So you'll get that error no matter which way you're doing it, which is frustrating. It's probably the biggest complaint that I've gotten so far since the upgrade.
Is it the one titled patron image upload fails on first attempt with CSRF failure? Is that the bug?
Yeah, that's the bug.
It's 31492. I'll put a link in the chat box for you, Jason.
Thank
I
you,
can't
George.
find the RSS one, probably because it's been patched.
Yeah, I noticed that on testing as soon as our test server was updated. I played with it and tested it out, and yeah, I was running into that exact issue, and it's like, am I doing something wrong? Because Kelly and Jessie, they demoed it so flawlessly. It's like, what's going on? I must suck.
I was just thinking the same thing, Christopher, like, how did we do it right if it's broken?
So yeah, that was a feature that I actually helped Mark Tomset work on initially. He had done a lot of the initial footwork on that, and I was so excited, and then he had to back out, and somebody else picked up the reins on that and finished it. And I was excited to hear that was coming out. And it's like, oh, this is the first thing I'm absolutely going to play with when I get it on the test server. And then I'm running into this error. And it's like, what am I doing wrong? So yeah, I'm excited about that because it eliminates so much of the fumbling involved with adding a patron photo, because you have to save it somewhere, you have to upload it, then you have to tie it in. It's just it was not convenient for staff in their workflow, and doing it with the webcam is going to make a huge workflow shift for including patron photos now. And so I'm hoping we can get that worked out sooner rather than later, because I've been waiting for it forever.
Yeah, and I will say, like, it's really slick and it's really nice. And once we get past the fact that you have to be on that specific page to do it, people are really enjoying it. So I think it was a great addition.
Are there any comments in that bug that you know of to currently work around it until it gets patched?
I mean, I put my comment on there about how you have to be on that specific page, but that's really the only workaround, I think.
Okay. If there's something that would be great, if we have a known workaround to get around that particular issue that's consistent, that's a step in the right direction, at least until it gets patched. So anyone else? I've got a list here if no one has anything to talk about.
Jason, is the RSS bug, is it about a template error in the OPAC?
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, that's 32114. I'll put it in the chat.
Awesome.
And for those of you that don't come to these meetings regularly, I listen to all the bug numbers, and we have a koha-US account that I add to all the bugs that we talk about, that I try to add to all the bugs we talk about in the meetings. And I'll put the link to that RSS feed for that list of things we've discussed in past meetings in the chat box when I find it here in a minute.
And thank you for doing that, George. Any other bugs of interest or upgrade topics of interest?
Not exactly, but I have sort of a rant about unhelpful error messages. I was trying to load something and I got a message, something went wrong while loading the tables. Yeah, but what? And sort of related to I tried installing Elasticsearch on the new test site for the author's catalog. And it didn't work, and it didn't work, and it didn't work. And the error message didn't have anything helpful. Turns out I just needed to add another couple of gigabytes of RAM. And Elasticsearch says you need 2, but Elasticsearch and Koha apparently needs 4.
I am so glad to have a support vendor that does all that stuff for me, so I don't have to think about that stuff. Anyone else? Well, I can mention one of the things that piqued my interest on this upgrade is the material request. If you, or purchase suggestion, the new feature or the preference OPAC suggestion autofill, which fills in the title info from Google Books based on an ISBN. So if you're doing a purchase suggestion and you put in an ISBN, it will fill in the form with some information from Google Books, which is really helpful. It kind of saves time. Maybe it's a good thing, maybe not. Maybe it makes it too easy for patrons to suggest things that you need to add to your collection. We'll see. But
I don't think so, because, you know, saying to a patron, go find the ISBN and put that in the spot. I mean, you've just opened a whole can of worms that, I mean, people are going to go, you want me to do what? I mean, that's saying fill in the ISBN, that there aren't a lot of people that are going to get that. So I don't think it's going to create a flood of work.
I don't know. You know, you've got, I think your hardcore people are the ones that are doing the purchase suggestions most of the time. And if they're hardcore, they probably know these things a little bit more. They're probably a little more savvy than your average patron that just goes in and searches, can't find what they want.
Yeah, but they're probably going to give you the 020Z instead of the 020A. Cataloging humor there.
So that was a feature that stood out to me. Let's see here. I did note that patrons can delete both hold history and checkout history, which is new.
Yeah, that's something that NEKLS pushed for, that we paid for, because when hold history was added, that was one of the things we really wanted. Was we wanted it to be just like the reading history, where there's the reading history's been in the OPAC as long as I've been using Koha, which is almost 10 years now. And when the hold history was added, we wanted that to be available to patrons. But then we also wanted for those, for the tinfoil hat patrons, we wanted to make sure that they felt comfortable knowing that their history wasn't being saved permanently. So I'm really pleased with that, and I'm really looking forward to it. So
I just had a thought. Do patrons have, I know that on the staff side, we can go into a patron account and look at the notifications that they have received. Can patrons do that on their side?
I do not believe so.
Wonder why that is. Probably just because it hasn't.
Are you talking about like text messages and stuff?
Just, you know, the notifications. So any email or print notification or text
phone,
yeah, or phone.
Yeah, so I think
received.
that there's a messaging prefs tab on the OPAC that patrons can use, on the vanilla OPAC anyways. I don't know about Aspen.
I know that they can set their settings, but I don't know if, I can't remember if they can actually view past notices.
Like,
yeah, no, that's a good idea.
Yeah, they can adjust their preferences for how they receive messages, but they can't, there isn't an archive of old messages available on the OPAC, to my knowledge. If there is, I haven't seen it in 10 years, so.
No, I want that though. Somebody put in a bug.
That'd be awesome, yeah. Somebody put in a bug and pay for it.
Maybe it'll be one of our upcoming developments, who knows?
That'd be one I think NEKLS would probably be willing to help fund if somebody, you know, maybe I'll come to the development meeting. That's when, next Thursday, Bob, or?
Yep, next Thursday.
Yeah, maybe
11
I'll
o'clock
come
for
to that
you.
if I can.
Yeah, I mean, you know, why shouldn't patrons be able to see their past notifications? You know, but you know, if that is the case, then that'll probably open up another can of worms of you know, how much of this do they want retained?
Exactly, and that's you know, I think currently at NEKLS, I think we only keep the previous 90 days worth of messages for that reason, that we don't want to hold on to that data for too long. So that would be that'd be another privacy issue, is, you know, patrons, do they want that history retained? And if so, how long for? Can they delete it? That'd probably open up a big can of worms, because there's the reading history and the holds history. I don't mind if people delete that themselves, but the messaging history, I think I kind of want to keep on the staff side longer than some patrons may want it kept on the OPAC side.
Well, you know, there's a few thoughts here. You know, it may open a can of worms, but some can of worms are better than others. And this would be, I think, a good can of worms, because I'm not opposed for patrons to see stuff. Maybe instead of them opting to delete stuff, maybe, you know, they can mark stuff that, you know, they don't want to see any longer, but then we dictate how long we retain it on our side, kind of thing. I don't know. I mean, it's there, you know, we're just giving them the option of, you know, how far back they want to be able to see that stuff, as, you know, as much as, you know, we hold on to. Doing something like this, you know, I think doing something like this might push forward the agenda of, hey, you know, there are certain things in Koha that need to be cleaned up on a regular basis and not retained for forever. And, you know, it may lead to better storage, because, you know, we have more eyes on records and how much stuff is being retained. So, you know, I think it's a good topic to breach, and possibly a good direction to go. But, you know, I think, you know, if we have them available and if they are of use to patrons, it would be worth exploring and talking about, you know. You know, in a bug, you know, we can open up a bug and mention that, but I think where it's really going to take shape and form and what direction it should go is when it's in discussions in places like this.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice if whoever is out there typing right now and entering this bug into Bugzilla, be sure to say, make it possible for patrons to optionally be able to see their messaging history.
Consider it on the agenda for the development committee.
Awesome.
More discussion there.
All right, well, we have about 4 minutes left here. Another thing that I saw in this upgrade for 2111, or excuse me, 2205 is a real-time holds queue. And I'm looking forward to that. That's something that has been a pet peeve of mine for a while, because there are often times that we run our holds queue and we catch it in the middle of it regenerating. And that always threw me for a loop. Why is this, you know, completely wiped out and starting from scratch rather than just updating the bits and pieces that it needs to? And so I'm interested to see how this is going to perform compared to our current holds queue.
Yeah, that's sometimes not always, but sometimes it takes 45 minutes for our queue when it's running slow because we have so many libraries. If there's just something slowing it up, that's been a real pain. So very much looking forward to that one.
Yeah, we would run the queue and we'd be in the middle of that regenerating, and it's like there's only what, a couple pages worth of things here, and we usually have like 12 or 15 pages, and it's like, this is weird. It took me a few times through this to realize, oh, if I run it again, there's more to it. It's like, oh, it's building it. So
I'm interested in what Emily commented on there, where because that could apply to us as well, that maybe the size might still not keep up with. So what happens, Emily? Can you expound upon that?
So basically what's happening for us right now is that the same background job like queue that processes the real-time holds queue processes all of our batch modifications and like anything else that needs to happen in the background. So when the real-time holds queue was turned on, there were just too many jobs going in that it was not able to keep up with processing, and they'd slowly build up in the system. And like, you know, editors were noticing that they'd put in a batch modification and then the changes wouldn't actually take effect for like 10 to 20 minutes, I think was what they were seeing.
wow.
So Bywater actually had to go in and turn our real-time holds queue off while they're working on patches to get it to like process things in parallel rather than process everything one by one in the order it's received and letting it build up. So fingers crossed they're able to get that in soon and get it working, because the real-time holds queue is amazing and we want to be able to use it, and we sponsored it. So
You do a lot of batch modifications throughout the day?
I think so. I'm like IT on the back end, and I've only been with the library system for a couple months, but my understanding is that batch modification is happening a lot from like the librarians use it to move books from like the new book section to the regular section is a big one I know happens a lot. I see Felicity is nodding and perhaps can expand.
We have 21 locations that are all doing their own batch editing on site as they're reading things, as they're adjusting locations, etc. So it's pretty frequent, and we've noticed slowdowns a lot in our cataloging efforts, things that are going on. So
wow.
Yeah, it's been a pain. Our catalogers have been pretty pissed.
Yeah.
That being said, I think you'll find it better to have, it used to be when 21 libraries were all batch modifying things at once, all those jobs were trying to run at the same time. And so having them in queued is a new process in Koha within the last couple of years. And it's much better than having, it's better to have 21 run things one sequentially than to have 21 things running all at the same time, because that causes a different problem.
Yeah, it's been fun explaining to people what enqueued means. Because I actually I love that there's a message that says, yes, that did go through, instead of it just sitting there and you wondering, did it happen or not? So the grinding, so they're like, what does this mean? I'm so worried. And I'm like, no, it's good. That's what you want to say. So
Emily, if you have patch numbers for those at all, please feel free to share those with the group, either in the chat, or you can throw it on our list email. I would love to follow up on and follow that, because I mean, you know, this is a feature I've been looking forward to, but it's like, this is the first I've heard of this issue. So it's like, this is exactly why I want us to be able to talk about these kinds of things at meetings like this, so that we can learn more about this. I wouldn't have known. I would have turned it on and said, and then, you know, running probably the same thing after a while. It's like, that's good to know. So thank you for sharing that. All right, well, we are 2 minutes past the half hour. We need to wrap up here. John, unfortunately, we ran out of time here for your report. Do you think you could just send out something to the members via email, or save it for the next general meeting?
With regard to the regular finance committee report, there's really not a whole lot to report, other than to say we, as of the end of December, had 26 members for 2023, and all of our activity right now is really related to membership. People paying. We're not spending a lot, although we do have to renew our Zoom room, and we're in the process of doing that. I'm glad Jennifer had provided a link to the budget that had been approved by the board. If people would like to look that over, they can direct any questions about that approved budget to me at financialmanager@koha-us.org.
Thank you. And again, if you want to hear details about these kinds of things, please join us at our board meetings, which are the week before our general meetings. And with that said, I'd like to go ahead and close up shop here. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today, and we'll see you next month, if not sooner, in a SIG meeting or a committee meeting. And speaking of committee meetings, we're going to start our conference committee meeting in just a moment here. So if you're joining us on that, great. If not, thank you for stopping by.